Have you ever reached the end of your day feeling drained, yet accomplished nothing that actually mattered? You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're trapped. Trapped in a digital loop designed to steal your attention, your power, your drive. Today, we're going to rip that trap wide open, and I'm going to show you exactly how to take your focus, energy, and life back. Right now, as you watch this, there's a silent war going on, and the battlefield is your mind. Every scroll, every ping, every just one more video is a chain pulling you deeper into the digital trap. This isn't just about screen time. It's about purpose theft. It's about ambition being swallowed by distraction. But there's a way out. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the roadmap. We are more connected than ever and more distracted, anxious, and unfulfilled. Why? Because our brains are being hijacked. Dopamine hits from reels, endless notifications, FOMO. We're running on empty fuel. We've traded progress for pleasure, momentum for memes. The cost, your dreams, your potential, your drive. This isn't just about wasting time. It's about losing direction. Imagine this. You're sitting at your desk. It's 9 a.m. sharp. You've got your coffee in hand, your to-do list ready to go, and a full day ahead of you. You open your laptop, ready to dive into something important, but before you even start, a notification pops up. Someone liked your recent post. You check it just for a second, then you scroll. One reel turns into 5. 5 minutes turns into 30. And by the time you look up, your energy's gone. Focus, scattered. And the thing you meant to do, still sitting there, untouched. Sound familiar? That's the trap. And it's not just you. We are living in a time where we're constantly connected. Phones, tablets, smartwatches, pop-ups, emails, Slack, Teams, Discord, you name it. Everything is calling for your attention all the time. And the scariest part, you don't even notice how deep you're slipping until you're already knee-deep in distraction. Because this isn't just noise. This is architecture, design. The digital world is built to keep you there. Scrolling, tapping, watching, reacting. And every time you do, you're giving away the one thing you can't buy back, your focus. See, there's this hidden cost that comes with constant connection. It's subtle, it's sneaky, but it's powerful. Let me tell you about a guy named Ray. Ray was a graphic designer, really talented, super creative, tons of potential, but he couldn't seem to finish anything. He'd start projects strong, then stall halfway through. Let's say you get interrupted 4, 5, 6 times in an hour. That's not unusual. That's normal in today's world. But if each of those distractions pulls you off course for 20 minutes, you're barely even working anymore. You're busy, but you're not productive. You're active, but you're not advancing. You're showing up, but not moving forward. That's the price we pay, and we don't even get a receipt for it. But here's the twist. This isn't a time problem. This is an attention ownership problem. You can have a full 8-hour workday and still achieve nothing if your focus is being auctioned off in the background. The real cost in connection isn't just wasted time. It's wasted potential. And there's a darker layer. Because when you start losing focus consistently, day after day, you start to question yourself. You start thinking things like, why can't I get anything done? Or why can't I just stay focused like everyone else? And that self-doubt grows. It eats away at your confidence. It clouds your decision making. And suddenly, you're not just distracted, you're disconnected from your purpose, your power, your inner fire. But let's flip the script for a second. Have you ever had a moment, maybe just one, where you locked in completely? No phone, no distractions, just you and the task. And you crushed it. Maybe you finished writing that proposal. Maybe you edited that video in one go. Maybe you outlined a whole project in a couple of hours. You felt unstoppable. Right. That's because you were working a flow state. And that right there, that level of clarity and speed, that's your natural mode. That's what happens when your mind is not being pulled apart by digital junk. It's not just possible, it's yours. You've been there before and you can get there again. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, but everything's online now. How do I escape that? You don't have to move to a cave. You don't have to quit technology, but you do have to create boundaries. Because focus doesn't survive in chaos, it thrives in structure. Let me show you another real example. Alina is a copywriter, brilliant with words. But like many creatives, she struggled with staying on task. She'd open up her Google Docs ready to write, and 10 minutes later she was checking YouTube, then WhatsApp, then jumping into a podcast. Nothing ever got done on time. So she started doing something radical. For 2 hours a day, she turned off everything. Phone in another room, browser tabs closed. She set a timer, played instrumental music, and only worked on her writing. The result, in 1 month, she wrote more content than she had in the previous 3 combined. Not because she worked longer, but because she worked clearer. The distraction tax was gone. Her ideas, sharper. Her energy, higher. And her confidence skyrocketed. That's what happens when you reclaim mental bandwidth. You see, the modern world tells us we need to be always on, always reachable, always connected. But that's a lie. You don't need to be always available. You need to be intentionally unavailable to the things that don't serve your mission. Ask yourself, what are you letting into your mind that doesn't deserve to be there? The podcast you didn't even want to listen to, but it autoplayed and you kept going. The 20 Instagram stories you watched before bed. The email you opened on a Saturday afternoon, even though it could have waited until Monday, it seems small, harmless. But it stacks. It compounds. And over time, it shapes the quality of your thoughts, your decisions, and ultimately, your life. Now let's flip the lens again. Look at the people you admire. Athletes, leaders, visionaries, the top 1%. You think they're wasting 3 hours a day on TikTok. You think they check their notifications every 5 minutes. Not a chance. Their greatest edge isn't just talent, it's focus, ruthless, disciplined, uninterrupted focus. And it's not reserved for the elite. It's available to anyone who's willing to stop giving away their mind to machines. So, what can you do practically right now? Start with awareness. Pay attention to your attention. Track it. Where is it going? What's stealing it? What's draining it? And once you spot the leak, plug it. Is Instagram the problem? Delete it for a week. Just try it. Feel the withdrawal, then feel the freedom. Is your email eating up your mornings? Set 1 or 2 blocks a day to check it. And nothing more. Is your phone lighting up like a Christmas tree? Turn off the notifications. All of them. Yes, all. Because if it's not important enough to call you, it's not important enough to interrupt you. And maybe, just maybe, it's not just the apps. Maybe it's the inner addiction to being distracted. The fear of being still, the discomfort of quiet. Because in the silence, we're forced to face the truth, to confront what we've been avoiding, to hear that little voice inside saying, you're meant for more, and you are. But that more only shows up when your mind has room to breathe, to think, to create, to go deep. So, the next time you feel that itch to check your phony pause, ask yourself, is helping Meg, or is this just another rope pulling me back into the trap? Because you have a mission, you have goals, you have fire, and none of those things live in the feed. They live in you. and the world. It needs that version of you, not the distracted, tired, dopamine-starved version, but the clear, powerful, fully present one. That version isn't far away. It's just on the other side of silence. Your mind is sacred territory. Not everything deserves space in it. Every time you check your phone, you're renting that space to someone else's agenda. You need to draw the line. Delete the apps. Turn off the noise. Build a fortress around your focus, because that's where your power lies. You ever walk into a room and forget when you went in there? You pause, you stare at the walls, maybe retrace your steps like somehow your memory is sitting in the hallway waiting to jump back into your head. It's not because you're forgetful. It's because your mind, your mental real estate, is cluttered, overcrowded, and not by accident either. Most people walk through life with their brain completely wide open, no gatekeeper, no filter. It's like leaving your front door unlocked with a neon sign saying, "Come on in," and everything comes in. Emails, arguments, ads, news, notifications, opinions, judgments, useless info, all of it rents space, and not for free. It costs you clarity, energy, peace, and decision-making power. Here's the truth no one really says out loud. Your mind is not built for this much input. It wasn't designed to carry 100 conversations, 10 to-do lists, 4 open browser tabs, and your cousin's political rants on Facebook. We're running modern software on ancient hardware, and it's burning us out from the inside. Imagine your brain as a clean whiteboard. Every morning, you wake up with a fresh slate, but before you've even had your coffee, 5 text messages come in. Your phone buzzes with notifications. The news yells something at you about a global crisis. And suddenly, your whiteboard is already covered in scribbles. You haven't even started your day, and your mental space is already hijacked. And most of us, we go, "That's just how it is." No, it's not. It's just how it is when you let everything in. There's a phrase I use with people I coach: guard your gates. Your gates are the doors to your mental real estate. And everything should earn the right to enter, because what enters your mind shapes your focus. And your focus, that's what shapes your life. Let me show you what this looks like. A few years ago, there was this young entrepreneur I worked with. His name was Camille. Super sharp, hungry, had a big vision. But every time we'd talk, he looked tired, like mentally foggy. He had the work ethic, but he wasn't making real progress. And after a few deep dives, I asked him to do one simple thing: audit his inputs. For 1 week, track everything that entered his mental space. At the end of that week, eye-opener, he realized he was listening to 4 different business podcasts, checking Instagram 10 times a day, watching YouTube for inspiration, answering emails the moment they hit his inbox, and randomly checking crypto prices on every bathroom break. His brain was never still. No wonder he couldn't focus. He was trying to sprint with a backpack full of bricks. So we cleared the board, unsubscribed, unfollowed, deleted, set boundaries, 1 podcast, no phones in the first hour of the day, social media once a day max, news off. And within 2 weeks, his clarity was back, his ideas were sharper, his execution way up, not because he got smarter, but because his mental space was his again. That's what reclaiming mental real estate looks like. And let's be honest, it's not easy, because distraction is dressed up to look like staying informed. We convince ourselves that being plugged in everything is smart, even necessary, but it's not. It's self-sabotage wrapped in the disguise of productivity. You need space to think, space to breathe, space to connect the dots. When your brain is overloaded, creativity dies, strategy dies, even common sense takes a hit. You start reacting instead of responding. You start running in circles instead of making real moves. Ever notice how your best ideas come when you're in the shower, or driving, or walking alone? No music, no podcasts, just you and your thoughts. That's not random. That's your mind operating in open space with no static, no noise. That's where your power lies. But if your brain is booked solid every minute of the day, those moments, they never happen. And if you're constantly distracted, here's what you're missing. You can't hear yourself think. Not your highest self. Not your instincts. Not your next big move. All that gets drowned out by the mental junk screaming for attention. And the worst part, you start mistaking that noise for truth. That voice saying, you're behind. That little anxiety spike when you see someone else crushing it online. That tension in your chest when you see a message you haven't responded to. All of that is just noise on your whiteboard. It's not truth. It's clutter, and you're not obligated to carry it. You've got to ask yourself who or what is living rent-free in your head. If something doesn't support your purpose, your peace, or your growth, it's got to go. You don't owe your attention to everyone. You don't need to consume everything that pops up. You are allowed to opt out. You are allowed to curate your mind the same way you'd curate your home. You wouldn't let random people walk through your front door shouting nonsense all day. So why let random voices into your thoughts? People treat their phones better than their minds. Cleaning storage, deleting apps, organizing files. But the most valuable storage you have is between your ears. And most people let that run on low battery, low clarity, and high stress every single day. So slow down, breathe, look around. What's taking up space that doesn't belong? What habits, inputs, and environments are robbing you of peace? Because your mental real estate is your command center, and it should be sacred. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. Winners don't scroll, they build. They write, they make, they move. And here's the truth, when you switch from consumer to creator, your energy multiplies. You don't need more time. You need to own your time. And you do that by choosing to create, to grow, to push forward, even when it's hard. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you finished something and felt proud of it? Not just crossed it off a list, but actually felt that deep, solid, full body sense of, yes, I did that. When you didn't need praise or likes or applause because the act itself was satisfying enough. That feeling, that is the product of intentional work. And intentional work, it's a rare thing these days because we've been trained, conditioned to chase dopamine instead of depth, quick hits instead of meaningful progress, surface over substance. You ever start your day thinking, today I'm going to get this done, but by the time night rolls around, you're asking, wait, what did I even do all day? Yeah, that's not laziness. That's not lack of ambition. That's what happens when you're living on autopilot, drifting from one input to the next, reacting instead of choosing, checking boxes instead of building momentum. And that's the key word right there, momentum. Momentum is not some magical force that shows up when the stars align. It's not about being in the mood or waiting for inspiration. Momentum is built, crafted, earned, one decision at a time, one focus block at a time, one promise kept to yourself at a time. See, discipline is not a punishment, it's freedom. Structure doesn't cage you, it unlocks you. But most people never feel that because they're too busy trying to feel like it before they start. Let me say something you need to hear. You're not always going to feel like it. And that's okay. You're not supposed to. That's not how greatness is built. You think high performers always wake up energized, motivated, and ready to attack the day. No. What they have, what separates them, is the ability to act in alignment with their goals, regardless of how they feel in the moment. Because they know action creates clarity. Waiting around for motivation, that's a trap, a trick. And it steals your time in the worst way by convincing you it's okay to delay the life you want. Let me tell you about Devin. He worked a corporate job he didn't love. Always said he wanted to build a side business, something creative, something that made him feel alive again. He had the skills. He had the ideas, but he didn't have momentum. Why? Because every evening when he sat down to work on it, the scroll got him. You know what I mean? The scroll, Instagram, Netflix, news feeds, a few minutes here, a few videos there, and poof, his whole evening disappeared. One night he texted me, frustrated. I just don't have the discipline. I said, no, you just don't have a system. You're relying on willpower, and willpower fades. Systems win. So we built one. Simple, non-negotiable routines. No phone the first 30 minutes after work. Deep work block from 7 to 8:30 p.m., phone on airplane mode. Timer on. One task, no multitasking, no bouncing tabs. At first, it was hard. His brain craved distraction like sugar. But after 2 weeks, something clicked. He started making progress. Finishing pieces of content, building an audience, gaining traction, and most importantly, he felt proud. Not because he was perfect, but because he showed up with intention even when he didn't feel like it. That's the shift. When you stop waiting for energy and start creating it. When you stop hoping for clarity and start building it. When your daily actions stop being driven by mood and start being driven by mission. Let me say this loud. You are not your distractions. You are not your cravings for easy. You are not your low energy moments or tired days. You are what you return to over and over again. And if you keep returning to intention, if you keep choosing direction over drift, you win. It's like a compass. You don't need to walk the whole journey today. You just need to point in the right direction and take the next step. Then another and another small, consistent actions over time. That's how massive momentum is born. Now, I know what some people say, but I'm just too scattered. I have too much going on, and I get that. Life is loud. Responsibilities pile up. But that's why intentional structure matters more than ever. Not just for productivity, but for your sanity. Because without intention, you're reactive. You let your day happen to you. You follow whatever pops up next. But when you move with intention, you become the one steering the ship. You decide what matters today. You put the phone down not because you have superhuman discipline, but because you know your purpose is worth protecting. That's a different kind of power. And look, it's not about perfection. You're going to have off days. You're going to slip. That's human. But the difference between the ones who stay stuck and the ones who rise. It's this: when the moment comes, when the fork in the road appears, they don't say, maybe tomorrow. They say, right now, let's go. They don't chase motivation. They build rhythm. They don't get pulled by impulse. They're pulled by vision. And when you live that way, even your smallest actions feel aligned. Even the quiet, unglamorous tasks feel like progress. You start to trust yourself again. You start to feel capable again. And momentum, it stops being a dream and starts becoming your new default. Focus isn't a talent. It's a ritual, a daily habit. And it starts with these 3 moves. 1, guard your mornings. No screen for the first 60 minutes. 2, create a deep work zone. 1 space, 1 purpose, 0 distractions. 3, and every day by setting your top 3 for tomorrow. Focus is a decision made in advance. When you do this, day after day, your life starts to transform fast. Because now you're not reacting to life, you're driving it. Let me ask you something straight. When's the last time you truly sat still with yourself? Not scrolling, not watching, not listening to another voice. Just you alone with your own thoughts. For a lot of people, that's uncomfortable, even scary. Because the truth is, most of us have gotten used to running from silence, from stillness, from the deep parts of ourselves we don't quite understand yet. And instead, we bury the discomfort and noise, constant movement, constant input, constant distraction. But here's the thing, clarity doesn't live in the noise, it lives in the pause. And in today's world, that pause, that's the most endangered space of all. See, when you're constantly plugged in, constantly reacting, constantly performing, you start losing touch with your internal compass, your instincts, your gut. That deep knowing that knows what's next, even when your mind doesn't have the words for it yet. You know what I'm talking about? That quiet, still voice inside you. It never shouts. It never fights. It just waits patiently for you to slow down long enough to listen. But if your mind is always racing, always chasing the next notification, the next task, the next hit, you drown that voice out. And when that happens, your direction gets fuzzy. Your drive gets diluted. You start following trends instead of truth. You start asking everyone else what to do instead of turning inward and asking yourself. There was a moment, I'll never forget it. I was sitting with this young athlete, just out of college, trying to figure out what came next. He was talented, disciplined, smart, but stuck. He had 3 offers on the table, 3 completely different paths, and he was paralyzed by indecision. Every day, he'd bounce back and forth. 1 hour, he'd be sure, the next he'd be second guessing everything. And the more he thought about it, the more confused he got. So I asked him, how much quiet time are you getting? He looked at me like I'd just spoken a different language. What do you mean? I mean no input, no phone, no talking, no content, just silence. You and your thoughts. He paused. I don't know, maybe 5 minutes before bed sometimes. Exactly. I told him to go to the park the next morning. No phone, no music, just a walk. 30 minutes. No agenda. Just listen. He resisted at first. Said it felt like a waste of time. But he did it. And the next day, he had clarity. Not because some lightning bolt hit him, but because for the first time in weeks, he gave his mind the space to process, to connect the dots, to sift through the noise and land on something real. That's what presence does. When you become fully present, not halfway, not distracted, not sort of paying attention, but here, everything sharpens. Your thoughts, your energy, your confidence, because you're not leaking energy anymore. You're not trying to hold 50 browser tabs open in your head. You're focused, anchored, aligned. You ever watch a world-class musician on stage or a master craftsman at work? There's something magnetic about them. They're not just performing, they're immersed, fully present in what they're doing. That level of presence, that's where mastery lives, that's where joy lives. But we've been trained to believe that rest is laziness, that slowing down is falling behind, that if we're not doing, we're not worth anything. It's a lie. Stillness is not weakness, it's strength. Reflection is not a delay, it's strategy. And presence is power. Because when you're fully present, you don't just do the task, you bring your full self to it. You think clearer. You listen better. You create deeper. You lead stronger. And it's not just about work. It's about life. Your relationships. Your conversations. Your moments with people who matter. Because if you're always halfway somewhere else, thinking about tomorrow, checking your phone, mentally calculating the next thing, you miss everything that's right in front of you. And the sad part, you don't even realize it until it's gone. Presence lets you feel more, see more, be more. You start noticing the way your kids' eyes light up when they tell you something. You hear the tremble in your friend's voice when they say they're fine, but clearly aren't. You're born and you have a clean slate. When you're born and you're clean slate, you miss everything when your friend's voice when they say they're fine, but clearly aren't. You miss all the time that stands on the dock. You miss all the fun, the daily beat down the bus, the taxi. You feel the shift in the room when you walk in, calm, centered, grounded. But you only get that when your mind isn't scattered. when your nervous system isn't wired to the edge, when you learn to disconnect from the chaos out there so you can reconnect with the clarity in here. And no, this doesn't mean go meditate in a cave or sell your phone and live in the woods. It just means pause. Take 5 minutes a day to breathe. Go on a walk without earbuds. Sit with a journal and ask yourself honest questions. Create space. Listen to your life instead of constantly talking over it. Because sometimes the breakthrough you're chasing isn't in the next book or podcast or piece of advice. It's in the silence, in the stillness, in the space you keep avoiding. You don't need to add more to become who you want to be. Sometimes you just need to strip away the noise. Quiet the distractions, let your real voice rise. And that voice, it's always been there, waiting, whispering, ready to guide you when you're ready to hear it. You were not born to be a consumer, you were born to lead, to create, to dominate your space. So today, right now, cut the chains, escape the trap, reclaim your focus, reclaim your drive, reclaim your life. Let's go.